To begin your application to become a volunteer, you must first visit our homepage by typing in 2025canadagames.ca. From here, you will then click on the drop-down link and then click on Become a Volunteer. From here, you will then scroll down until you see Register Now. You can click on Become a Volunteer, which will bring you directly to our registration portal. After clicking registration, to the right of the answer boxes, there is a square that says click here to upload a picture. This option is open to anyone filling out an application to insert a photo of themselves for their accreditation badges. There are certain guidelines that must be followed when submitting a photo, such as ensuring there are no hats visible in the photo, no selfies, the entire face must be visible, and you must ensure the photo is in good quality while maintaining a professional headshot. If you currently do not obtain a suitable photo to upload, there is also an option to complete this in our volunteer center, where there will be a photographer available to take these headshots during our hours of operation. I will now quickly give you a little tutorial of how to upload this photo. So here you'll click on the box and read through the requirements that I mentioned earlier, and if you are satisfied that you can meet these requirements, press continue. From here, you will then click on the drive that you wish to upload and click open. Here, you will adjust it to make sure that your whole face is visible, and once you are satisfied with the adjustment, you can then click continue. It will now give you an idea of what your picture will look like on your accreditation badges, and once you are satisfied with the outcome, you can press OK, and if you want to change your photo or cancel it altogether, press redo or cancel. Here I will just click OK. Now to complete this section of the form, just fill out your first, middle, and last name, as well as preferred names. Now we will move into the general information section. Continue to fill out the required boxes with your own information as we go through. For the purpose of this video and for security reasons, I won't put down my actual address and information, but just to give you an idea, you can follow along and put in your own information. Now, if you would like to receive essential text messages, you can put your phone number down in this box here, but this is not required. When entering your email address, make sure to double check its validity, as this will be the same email address you will be using to sign into your volunteer account. This is also the email we will use to communicate any and all aspects of being a volunteer for the games, including your schedule of shifts come game time. Now, there will be some drop-down boxes that you select that will refresh your page, but do not worry, it will bring you right back to where you were when you selected that option. Now, just below the email section, there is a clothing size option that you will use to select the sizing of your volunteer uniform. If you have any uncertainties with sizing and/or optimal fitting options, please be sure to view our sizing chart that is linked next to the clothing size drop-down box for further specifications. Once all the required boxes are filled out in this section, you can then click on the next section and continue your application. Now, you may find once you go through, there are some questions throughout this application that you do not feel comfortable answering, and that is okay. You may decline any and all options that do not have a red asterisk mark next to the answer box, as these are the only ones that are required. but we do encourage that you fill out every section that you can to ensure optimal application status. The next section we have is the additional information section. While completing this section, please read over each question carefully as it pertains to your preferences in regards to volunteer roles and availability. The first 3 questions in the additional information section are to gauge your top areas of interest for volunteering. The first question here has a link attached to this section that is titled Volunteer Role Description. It is an in-depth breakdown of each volunteer area, the specific roles available, and all other requirements that are relevant to the volunteer role. For example, if you are a trained paramedic or an individual with qualified certifications in the medical field and have had experience in similar roles revolving around emergency services, you are most likely most qualified to be on the medical services team. By selecting this designation in all 3 drop-down boxes, it helps communicate your desire to us and lets us know you're qualified for the task at hand. Otherwise, you can select 3 different areas that fit your personal preference and experience the best. These are just some examples of some that you could select. They may not pertain to you, but they are the options nonetheless. The remainder of this section poses questions about your personal skills, experience, and background. For the sake of this tutorial, I will fill it out as follows. I have basic knowledge of computers with under 2 years of leadership experience. Since I do not have much experience as a leader, I will not select the option which indicates I am interested in a supervisory role. I have had more than 2 years in the customer service industry, but my photography skills are at a low to basic level. In terms of physical abilities, I can lift, push, and pull over 50 pounds, but due to, let's say, flat feet, my ability to stand for long periods of time is hindered to less than 30 minutes. I do not obtain a license to drive any sort of vehicle that is not a standard driver's license. However, I do hold certifications in lifeguarding and first aid. I have a very strong understanding of the English first language, but my French is at a basic level. Therefore, I will not select the option to be a bilingual volunteer. Here at the Games, we do require a minimum of 10% of our volunteers to be bilingual to accommodate those who speak French as their first language. Finally, if you have any concerns about your physical ability for a volunteer role, there's a comments box at the bottom of this section that allows our applicants to know any physical challenges they may have that will inhibit their ability to perform certain tasks or be eligible for certain roles. Once you have filled this section in to the best of your ability and that is complete, you are ready to move on to the next section of your application. The next section is the availability section. This is where you can indicate what days and hours will work best for your schedule to commit your time to volunteer. There is a 32-hour minimum commitment to volunteer for the 2025 Canada Games, so it is important to keep this in mind when selecting your availability. Let's say someone wants to volunteer but works a 9-to-5 job all year round. In this case, we would go ahead and select all the options for the weekend as well as our evenings during the weekdays. With that being said, we know many people might not want to dedicate their entire weekends to volunteering, especially after a long week at work, or they may have other commitments on various nights throughout the week, and that is perfectly okay. All we ask is that you put down your availability to the best of your knowledge. Even if you will not know your schedule until closer to the game's time, we encourage you to submit your application early. It is also important to remember that we will be scheduling over 5,000 volunteers, so please try and be as accurate as possible. For the sake of this video, I will select what would appeal to me if I were to select these options for my availability. This section also asks you to provide an estimate of how many hours you would like to volunteer so we can get an idea of how many shifts we should schedule for each individual. As we move into the next section, interests, it is important to acknowledge that our local volunteers live in a variety of communities across the Avalon and the province in general. To accommodate this, we will do our best to take our applicants' preference into consideration for venue scheduling, but it's important to know that we will have operational requirements to meet, and there may be times when volunteer preferences may not be possible. The options listed are Mount Pearl, Conception Bay South, St. John's, Logie Bay, Middle Cove, Outer Cove, and Paradise. These towns and communities are home to all of our venues, competition and non-competition, here at the 2025 Canada Games. For the sake of this video, let's say I live close to the Volunteer Center, which is in close proximity to all areas listed, so I will select all that are available. If you are not comfortable with going to certain venue locations, the option is there to not select that geographical area that corresponds with that specific venue. Once you've selected your desired locations, you can move on to the next section. This next section is fairly straightforward. It is your emergency contact information. Here you will fill in the name, phone number, and the relationship to your emergency contact. Now, for the sake of this video, I won't fill out anything here. I will just put in blanks, but you must submit the proper information for whoever your emergency contact may be. Next, we will move into the statistical information section. Now, as you may see, this section is optional. If you choose to complete it, please do so to the best of your ability. This section is strictly for statistical purposes and will have no impact on your application whatsoever. As we are a national sporting event, we must adhere and report our game statistics to Sport Canada. Once your information is complete up to this point and you are ready to continue on to the last section of the application, please take some time to review our volunteer agreement and waiver and volunteer code of conduct down past this section that are linked here in the consent. Once you have read the terms and choose to agree, select yes on the consent form drop box. Once this is completed, now you are able to create a password for your volunteer account. Ensure that your password meets the requirements listed above the drop box. Once this is completed and you are confident that all your information is accurate to the best of your ability, you can go ahead and click Save, and that will successfully submit your application to become a volunteer with the 2025 Canada Games. You will receive an email shortly after your submission confirming that we have received your application, and just like that, you have applied to be a volunteer for the 2025 Canada Games. As you can see here, I myself did not adhere to the password requirements, so I'll scroll down and fix that. And now we can go ahead and save. And as mentioned, you will receive an email shortly after your submission confirming that we have received your application. And you can now go ahead and close the window. Hopefully this video has helped guide you through the application process and answers any questions that you may have had. If you still have questions after watching this video, feel free to contact us at our volunteer email address, volunteer@2025canadagames.ca. We are very excited to start this journey to August 2025 on the biggest team. Thank you for listening.